Chair Fagan,
Here.
Vice Chair Reese Fry,
Present.
Secretary Archer is present. Commissioners Moore,
Present.
Rudno,
Here.
Chief Letter,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Kepler.
Here.
Coming around to James White,
Here.
Josh Maddox,
Here.
Simon Dallas here, and Commissioner Klein.
Here.
And absent is Secretary, Josh Jackson, our treasurer, and Rachel Wenning, and I do not have any messages from them as of right now.
Josh isn't feeling well this evening, but he did let us know he wouldn't be able to attend.
Did you get Striker?
Yes, I already have him
Okay.
listed, right, but
Okay.
Andrew is also present. He took a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great.
Quorum established.
Thank you. So everybody should have a copy of the agenda. The agenda that I sent out via Constant Contact, this is a change to that agenda. Everything is the same, except we do have an additional presentation that I had confirmed with Shelley Rogers of Green Columbus. So she's going to be presenting for 10 minutes as our second presentation tonight. So thank you for being here, Shelley. So that's the only change I have for the agenda this evening. I'm going to call, is there any additional items we need to add to the agenda, any deletions, anything at all from the commissioners? Hearing none, I'm gonna motion to approve the agenda as it is.
Second.
Thanks, Jack. All in favor?
Uh,
Perfect. Anybody opposed? Great. Moving right along, our approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Secretary Archer got those out to us within a couple days. So those have all been available to all of us. Any comments, questions about the minutes? You listed, Joe, information about the softball game coming up,
Yes.
and it just needs a date inserted into it.
Okay.
It was just missing a date in the minutes.
This should be this.
Everything else looked fantastic. Any other changes or anything regarding the minutes? No. So hearing none, I'm going to make a motion also to approve the minutes from our July meeting. We didn't have a meeting in August. We took the month off, the last full commission meeting in July. And making a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so we approve the minutes from our July meeting. So we are moving on to the City of Columbus staff reports, and I have Sergeant Brophy. I don't see him here, but he attends our meeting just as often as he can from the Division of Police. So if Sergeant Brophy does come, we'll make sure he's able to provide a report. But we do have Zach Wynn here. He's our zone attorney from the city attorney's office. Do you have anything you'd like to present tonight or
Sure, I think,
can I give you a mic?
yeah,
It should be there with somebody, probably Dean.
hey, everybody, Zach Wynn with Columbus City Attorney's Office, the zone attorney handling nuisance abatement, so everything from code violations, zoning violations to nuisance property, drug activity, things like that. To report, we had a liquor approval request come through for the Green Light Lounge on West Broad Street. I reported that over to Commissioner Stryker to get some feedback from the commission, and he has provided some feedback. I don't know if there's more from the larger commission, but I can take that just via email or any sort of comments tonight. Beyond that, we filed our preliminary and permanent injunction against Greyhound Lines and Barron's Bus. That had a first status conference on September 1st. That case is actually being handled by our section chief, Steve Dunbar. So what I can report back at this point is that the case has been set for a preliminary injunction hearing in front of Judge Mingo. The parties are going to meet with a mediator first, and then prior to mediations, I think they'll be deposing witnesses and preparing as if the preliminary injunction will go forward. Case was filed based on building and zoning violations for orders that were issued by that department, and then criminal activity arguing that had created a public nuisance in the area. Beyond that, we had a drug house. I might have reported it last time at 687 South Wayne Avenue. We filed a preliminary injunction on and reached an agreed judgment entry. And, softball is this Saturday. Franklinton's ready. I don't know about those, huh? Any questions?
For the Green Light Lounge, is that the West Broad location right over here, or is it?
I believe it was at 2414 to 2418, so the north side of West Broad Street. Actually, I do believe Mr. Stryker, Commissioner Stryker has more personal knowledge of that.
Over there by the Family Dollar area.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Any other questions from the commission? Anybody? Any field questions if there are any?
Yeah.
Anybody, and then here in the audience, question? For Zach?
You said there, was there something scheduled, a date in mind for the trial for the bus company?
So it's early November. What they wanted to make sure is, so they are appealing the violations. They are appealing the administrative appeal of building orders to both the state building and then the city's essentially administrative group that hears those sort of appeals. So they want to see how those play themselves out while at the same time pursuing the litigation of those events, things like that. So early November, and then I believe the administrative appeals are going to be late this month.
Can you repeat the question, just?
So the question was,
Was there a date set for the trial hearing related to the bus stop?
so it's a preliminary injunction hearing, which is asking the court to give us a preliminary order saying, essentially, do this, don't do this. These are the requirements that are going to be going forward, whether that's all of the range could be anything from cease operations, go away, all the way to denying our request for any sort of injunctive relief, and then anything in between, if there's any sort of agreed limited operations or security requirements, things like that.
Great, thanks. Any other questions? Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Our liaison with city council, is Avery here tonight? I know she always tries to make it. She might be held up a little bit, so we'll see if Avery comes in a little bit. I don't see Olabisi either. Olabisi is our neighborhood liaison with the Department of Neighborhoods. And I know Nick Plauk, who typically does a presentation for us on the Envision Hilltop plan, is on a scheduled day off today. So good for him, got a day off.
I speak on your behalf as the vice chair of the advisory team.
Sure, Kevin Orr, come on up here.
Okay.
This is Kevin Orr. Can you give us some updates about the Envision Hilltop?
Just really quick, Pastor Kevin Orr, I'm the vice chair of the Hilltop advisory team. Just a couple of things I wanted to share with you all. Our subcommittees are continuing to meet. And we've also got some updates on the leadership of that. Michael Alcock is now facilitating the people subcommittee. And Ashley Montana is still leading home subcommittee. And the place subcommittee is being co-led by, co-facilitated by Morgan DeBoff and Danny Peterson. The other thing is that the Hilltop Envision Hilltop advisory team is meeting next Tuesday evening. It's going to be virtual. At that meeting, we're going to be talking more about trying to put together a community event. It's going to be happening perhaps in October. We haven't gotten the date set yet, but it's going to be an opportunity for us to share out with the community all the different things that have been happening with Envision Hilltop, and the subcommittees are also going to be sharing a little bit about what their hopes are to be addressing next year. And there'll be an opportunity also for community members to learn a little bit more about the plan, to engage with the subcommittees around the work that they're doing. So stay tuned as we try to get that date down. I just wanted to make sure you all heard those few updates. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, so this part of the meeting on the agenda, it says announcement. So we typically start with the commissioners, if there are any announcements that you would like to make, and then we'll go out to anybody here in attendance that would like to make any announcements. Think about the audience being the Greater Hilltop, the folks that may be watching, everybody else in this room. So any announcements from commissioners? So. Who's gonna go first? Jenny, go first.
So this Saturday, I do this on behalf of my friends at the Westgate Lodge. This Saturday, starting from 9 AM to noon, is the monthly charity breakfast at Westgate Lodge. It's $7 for adults and I think $4 for kids. So with all of the activities going on Saturday, why not start your day with a charity breakfast? It benefits the Special Olympics as well as the Masonic youth programs that they run here in Ohio. So I give them a shout out.
Thank you.
Zach Wynn already hinted at this, but immediately following the breakfast at 10 AM at Mary Magdalene School ball fields, we will have the 3rd annual Hilltop versus Franklinton charity softball game. Our roster is pretty well settled, but if you're dying to play and you think you're really going to be a ringer, please let me know. We could always take another player or two to keep our trophy. We are playing for My Project USA this year. Franklin is playing for Franklinton Farms, and we'll split the winnings with whoever wins. So please do come out. That's announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, this is looking ahead, but October the 10th, we will be having a co-hosted candidate forum with the League of Women Voters, very similar to the one that we held last year here at the library. Once again, that's going to be October the 10th at 6:30 here. We have invited city council candidates as well as school board candidates and mayoral candidates. So please stop by to ask questions and learn more about those races. We'll be posting on Facebook in the next week or so with an event. So you can start spreading the word.
Thank you.
And then, wait. Hello. Okay, and then, just got 2 announcements. So Step in the Right Direction is going to be hosting 2 events. Our first event will be September 21st to push, the folks getting, registered to vote. So we're trying to uplift our community here in the Greater Hilltop specifically. We are targeting to host it at Fulton Park, where they kind of like a family festival, but encouraging folks to get registered to vote. So if you're interested in volunteering, please reach out. And then we will also be hosting a trunk or treat, possibly looking at the Gospel Flies with dates of October 26th from 5 to 7. And it's going to be more of a trunk or treat resource fair. So we'll have community, of course, be dressing up, encourage families to come out, along with getting connected to resources. So obviously, if anybody else is interested in being a part of that also, please let us know. And then follow us on Facebook for more details on when that's coming up.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Ashley Montana. If you have not met, I am organizing the hilltopusa.org mural that you've seen online already. We've already had 4 painting days, but if you want to join us, we still have at least 4 more painting days. The next ones are this Thursday from 10 to noon, Thursday, September 14th from 6 to 8, Thursday, the 21st from 6 to 8. And then our last date scheduled is Wednesday, September 27th. If you're interested in helping with the mural, you don't have to have any experience. You can go ahead and just send me an email. My email address is Ashley, ashley@franklinton.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Anybody else?
Yeah. So, recently, Shaker's Public House had a fairly nice fire in their building. They are going to be, the Buckeye City Motor Sports is having an event noon to 4 p.m. to benefit 45 employees over at their address on East Main Street. You can find out more information on Facebook, but I want to make sure that we're supporting a local business here.
Here are the other announcements. We'll go ahead and move on to presentations. Don and Zach are here. If you want to take us off. There's just online. Sorry, guys.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alan Senator. This is Zach Woods and Jason Cornell from the Wilson Five Watch Group. And as many of you know, we have been fighting this Greyhound slash fairness bus slash all of the pop up at 8:45 or Wilson Road. I think Zach is here tonight as well. He's been in his staff at the city attorney's office and done some great work. We do have some updates tonight for you, simply because GHAC is going to be part of some of these upcoming things that you're going to hear shortly. So thank you. Yeah, thank you all very much for fitting us in here tonight. We really appreciate the podium here. If you just get started, I'm going to try to breeze through this as quickly as we can. Since we last met on July 28th, parents and the other companies were served with 4 different violation notices related to the property there on Wilson Road. They ranged between 20 and 30 days in terms of grace periods to correct or halt their operations. Of the 4, 1 they have remedied. If you recall, during one of our presentations on the first day or second day of their operations, they had a bus that collided at the side of their terminal while trying to navigate as we would urge you to consider, too small location. They have repaired that damage, which is why I scratched out that top violation notice. Second violation notice is a graphics violation. They did not have permission to display the Greyhound logo and the words bus terminal on the canopy of the old gas station there. They have appealed that. It goes before the BZA graphics committee. I apologize if I'm getting the terminology wrong there. It's on the 19th at 4:15 p.m. In the interim they have, and I know it's pretty hard to see, but my picture on the right there, they have put white stickers up covering that logo. I don't know. Yes, thank you. I don't know if that is a compliance or not. We have pictures for anybody who wants them of them covering that up. They did do that during day operations using a straddle stacker. It was their own employees. They didn't hire any licensed contractors to do that. And they also didn't stop operations during that time frame either. So safety concerns be damned, I guess. Moving on, they have and this is the big one and the one that is most relevant to this commission. They have a building and zoning code compliance issue. And there's a whole slew of issues that are cited in there. The most simple, which they had on the backside of the property, a privacy fence that had been damaged with multiple sections missing. They have fixed that. That separates the property from the residential home that is directly behind it. They also have a permit application, or I shouldn't say an application. They have a citation out there because they had installed a temporary portable building that is used for restrooms. I think in the state fair, or one of those kind of mobile trailers. If you recall, they were using just a standalone porta-john, which the city promptly told them to remove, and this was their solution for the interim. They're going to be before this commission on your next zoning night. I believe that's also the 18th, a busy day for them, or the 19th, I'm sorry, a busy day for them. Requesting a permit to operate that. Of course, they have been operating it without such a permit this whole time. Then they, of course, the other big one, they have a violation for occupying the site without a certificate of occupancy. No idea how they're going to argue that one away, but it's, that kind of rounds out their violations. They are appealing, as I said, the graphics issue, and also the following meeting on the 26th with BZA. They are applying for or appealing a violation for that second one. A lot of what they're going to argue is that they have obtained, remedied what things that they could and are either applying for or have obtained permits for the things that they have been cited for, including that restroom. As Zach Wynn just mentioned, the city did file a suit this past Monday, 28th of August, asking that the courts determine that this is a public nuisance, and they are also requesting a preliminary injunction to force closure. Moving on, next slide, please. Photo on the right, you can see a kind of a white building. Again, I apologize for the clarity if you can't quite make it out. It's up next to the fence. Yep, that's it. That's the building of the temporary restrooms that we are discussing, and that they will be applying permit for. And this should be the first of several permits. I know talking to the building and zoning as well as the code enforcement officer, they believe that they're going to have to apply for multiple ones. So this is probably just the first one on your agenda. So the surrounding businesses, and we're asking you kindly, when this does come before you, assuming that it will, to decline to grant such a permit or a recommendation for this permit. Talking to the surrounding businesses, the customers, passengers, whatever you want to call them, for this site, have been using the restrooms of the adjacent businesses this whole time, including since that temporary, I believe as they call it, high-end temporary bathroom was installed. They have vandalized the restrooms over at the adjacent gas stations. It was on the news, and I do have a citation there at the bottom of this slide for you if you want to check it out. The assistant manager of BP saying using their restrooms to do drugs and other heinous things. We expect more of the same from this site, as it does provide a little bit more privacy compared to a normal porta-john. Quote there for you: this portable high-end temporary bathroom being installed at the city's request. Wilson 845, that would be the legal owner of record for the property, applied for the special permit for the portable building. They are also offering to withdraw it altogether. And I don't know, what their aim was. Talking to the code enforcement and also BZS, based off the size of this location, they are required to offer public restrooms. Just getting rid of it altogether will effectively prevent them from operating business. Not to say that they seem to care about that aspect, but it's an interesting argument that they're trying to make. There is a restroom inside of the old gas station. It is currently in a storage closet. It is only offered to staff. There is no method of public access to it, and it remains locked as far as we know. However, such a restroom will only allow, I believe, a handful, like maybe 50 people a day. You'll have to talk to Tony Greasy in the building and zoning department. He can probably give you the exact number. It's a far cry shy of what they operate, which again is 34 plus pluses 24/7. Despite the presence of this quote unquote high-end temporary bathroom, the residents immediately behind the establishment have reported that it is a somewhat frequent occurrence that individuals will go and use their yards as a bathroom. Can't imagine those of you who are homeowners would enjoy that, but worth mentioning. And the last thing there is from the actual, or last quote I should say, is from the appeal that they filed. I'm sorry, the permit application that's coming before you, I believe. This facility is heated and air conditioned, has running water. The owner seeks to use it for up to 1 year. On my next slide, and I don't want to flip to it just quite yet, but the site plan refers to it as a permanent facility. So I'm not sure which one of those is true, whether if they're asking for only a year or if this is their long-term plan. I can tell you that in the photo there, it's hard to make out, but they are using city sewage and water to fill and empty that. You can see the water kind of running down the driveway. It hadn't rained there. They are actually filling the water reservoir up in this thing using a tap connect directly behind the building. And they did that yesterday. I don't know if they were trying to circumvent some stuff, knowing that the city enforcement officer wouldn't be working necessarily what, but we happen to be in the area, it's not a picture of it. The next thing, and I used my Game of Thrones quotation there at the bottom, which is winter is coming. They have, and you can flip to the next slide here. Their original plans, right where I've highlighted in yellow, that's the location of the temporary bathrooms. Their original plans had a overflow lobby there. It was a much, much larger location. It was heated and cooled. Winter is indeed coming, and if you paid attention to the news or any of my previous presentations before you, they have had some issues with that. They don't have the lobby capacity to hold one bus, let alone up to 6 at a time. And they have, at least in the Dayton Trotwood area, had one instance where passengers left out in cold sub-zero temperatures overnight. It was all Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas. And they fell to the local police department to finally come and rescue those individuals and take them back to the station because it was, I think, -5. And, you know, if this is, you know, there is some capacity in their 800 square foot ticket booth. But you know, I could also potentially see them using some of these restrooms for heating. You know, passengers will get desperate, I suppose, in such temperatures. So worth noting, if nothing else. The reason why they had to cut out that modular lobby building is because another one of their violations was for lack of parking spots. City code requires a certain number of parking spots depending on the square footage and the foot traffic that the business brings in. They had to, in order to comply with that, have at least 9 plus at least 1 or 2 ADA compliant spots, which they didn't. So to squeeze in the parking on their site, they have destroyed their overflow terminal, and instead they're running just the 2 bathroom, and it is 2 bathrooms in the temporary building instead. They have corrected the project description. Now, the original one only said that they had 2 seats. They're now asking for 53 seats. All of this, I'm telling you to show you that they didn't put any kind of effort or forethought into the site selection to begin with. It's our argument and belief that if they were to be allowed to continue operation there and get some of these permits granted, you know, it will kind of be rewarding bad behavior to begin with. The city, as Zach Gwynn mentioned, is filing that preliminary injunction and nuisance suit. It will hurt their case if they are able to, if the bus companies are able to get some of these permits going forward. Destroys part of their arguments about the inappropriateness of the site. So we strongly encourage you to take that into account when this comes before you. Another concern about the delay, you know, if it is going to take to November, is that school is back in session. There is a school bus stop directly across the street from the Coda bus stop on the kind of bottom right corner of the picture you're looking at here. Yeah, thank you. And day one, we actually had an incident. I'm gonna ask Don, if you mind telling, you were a witness to it.
Yeah, I think we've been in contact with the Southwestern City Schools, both their board, their transportation department, and so forth. Because our concern, even since this thing went into the end of June, was Lindendale Apartments has, there's 4 buses there that stop a day. You've got your middle school and then you've got your high school. They stop northbound, stop traffic on Wilson Road, they load up all the kids. And that first day of school, we went out there, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. School gets out, here comes the buses, and as we're sitting there and we're just kind of monitoring what's going on, we see a Hispanic lady standing in front of the Lindendale Apartments there, acting like she's waiting for the school bus. And rightfully, that's what parents do. We witnessed a gentleman get off the bus, the Barron's bus. Within 10-15 minutes, he was kicked out of the Speedway, the VP, went up to the pilot, got kicked out, tried to then come back to the Waffle House, got kicked out, then attempted to shoplift at the VP. got kicked out the second time, and then he goes southbound on Wilson Road, and he is harassing this woman probably 4 or 5 times, shaking her down for money, and of course, she played the smart card. She's like, no, I'll bless you, I know well. And Jason and I both said we have to stay here and make sure that this crazy guy leaves her alone and doesn't do anything stupid. At this point, we don't know what the guy's intentions are. You just don't know. So after he had left, I went up to the lady, and she speaks very broken English and I speak very broken Spanish. But I think at the end, we had a really great conversation. And she grabbed both my hands, and because I told her, I pointed to us and I said, "We watching you," and she, yeah. And we did, made sure that she got her kids off, and, you know, it's very concerning now, you know, we're talking about kids. What do we have kids that their parents are working, right? They're getting off the bus unattended. You've got a transient bus system directly across the street, bringing, who goes in?
Yeah, I would remind you, I mean, we've had at least 1 sexual assault there. We've had a couple violent assaults, 2 robberies, 1 at which was at gunpoint. So, you know, that's the stuff that these kids are going to be exposed to. Anybody who's got friends or anything on the Southwestern City School Board, maybe we can, I don't, you know, it is an apartment complex. I don't know how they're going to adjust the school buses around this property, but it's just another example of the ticking time bomb that is this location. One other thing there, just because I think it's funny and I still have a little bit of time left. There's a note to the left of the highlighted section that says existing landscaping to remain. Can we go back 1 picture, 1 slide by chance? Is that possible? That dirt. Yeah, that's the existing landscape that they intend to allow remain. So you know, it's just funny. Another example of the care and effort that they're putting into this site. You can see the lattice structure there on the left of the photograph that used to house the Shell logo at the top of it. Of course, it's just cut off at the top now. They finally have agreed to remove that, and the only reason is because they got cited for the traffic patterns and the safety issues. So they're going to finally take that structure out. Maybe I guess that would probably be another demolition permit that could potentially come before this commission as well. But if there's any questions, that's the last of what I have to offer you here tonight.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Don. Thought it was important to get an update about everything that's happened since we've had at least this commission was participating in an update about what's happening with this bus terminal. And as Zach said, Chair Winning probably has already received an application for a zoning application for our next month's meeting. So like you said, we'll talk about when that, in committee reports, we'll talk about the date and time of that meeting we'll be having here for that. Thank you very much. I do really appreciate it. Okay, moving on to our next presentation, Shelley Rogers is here from Green Columbus, and so the mic is up there. I don't think you have any slides for us to show, do you?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I sent them to you. To email.
Okay, I can try to do my best.
I can. I can also, I have Google Docs if I can share it with whoever has their.
You send me an email. Yeah, I can go there.
Well, we're waiting to transition. You asked if anybody had any questions for you, and then I kind of like stopped the ability to ask any questions. So are there any questions for? Really comprehensive report. I really appreciate it. Even as of today, what's going on.
If anything comes up and you have any questions, we are, at least myself, I live within eye shot of the terminal. We've got a very active kind of community group. Any question come up, you can get my contact information from Dan. I'm happy to talk anytime of day about this. It's obviously a passionate subject for us in the community, so please.
Hello. Okay.
I had to put it a little closer, yeah.
Oh, there it is. There you go.
You're good.
Tap it. There you go.
Hello. Okay. I'll just project, so everyone can hear me. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. My name is Shelley Douglas. I'm the Executive Director of Green Columbus. I apologize for my casualness. I came directly from a litter cleanup, so I sent our volunteers off on a litter cleanup and then I came here. So we are really excited to be here to talk to you, and you have a little spoiler alert on the agenda. We are having a tree giveaway, so that's what the presentation is going to lead up to. But I want to tell you a little bit about why Green Columbus is giving away free trees and why it matters. And we want to let you know that we have a tree nursery on South Terrace Avenue. It is right off of Sullivan there. So if you've ever driven past it and seen some trees growing, that is us. So if you ever see us out there, say hello. But we want to just tell you a little bit about why we do what we do. So get the next slide, please. So we're going to go back to science class for just a second. So we're going to talk about stormwater. So if you know what stormwater is, when it rains, all the water that does not get absorbed into the ground and trickle down into the groundwater, it just kind of washes across the ground, and it'll pick up things on its way, mostly bad things like chemicals and pet waste and fertilizer, things like that. And here in Central Ohio, all of our storm drains lead to the rivers. So everything that gets picked up in that water just goes straight out into our rivers, which is our drinking water. And also if you think about things like flooding, which if we go to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about flooding. Obviously, we don't want this water in our basements and our garages. And you don't want your kids playing in this water because it has all of those scary things in it. So something that trees do is slow down stormwater. So this is something that's pretty scary. So our storm sewer pipes are meant to hold about 9/10 of an inch of rain or of water. And so we're having 32% more large storms in Ohio with over that amount. So with about 1.25 in 24 hours is considered that large event. We're having 32% more of those. So do you feel like there's been more flooding, more big rain events? There has been. So this is something we're going to continue to have to cope with. Next slide. Oh. Goes a little. Yeah, so something else that trees can do is actually decrease crime. So this is kind of crazy, but there are a lot of studies that have been done on neighborhoods with tree canopy and what neighborhoods with trees have versus what neighborhoods without trees have. And these studies have found that 52% total crime is less in neighborhoods with more trees. So it differs a little bit between violent crimes and property crimes, but the U.S. Forest Service says that a 10% increase in trees equal to 12% decrease in crime. So there is a correlation there, and a 29% drop in gun violence for neighborhoods below the poverty line. So this is something that we think that people feel proud of their community and the beautiful place they come from. There's something that can kind of, have an effect on aggression and violent behavior. Next slide. And obviously trees improve our physical health. Everyone knows that trees produce oxygen. So this is good for things like reducing asthma, heart disease, and stroke, which are all serious problems when it comes to heat and climate related illness. Next slide. And trees can improve our mental health. So this has a little bit to do, I think, with that crime decrease. It is good for our mental well-being. And
it can increase our focus, and there's actually studies that show it can prevent mild depression, and having access to green space is valuable for your mental health as well as your physical health. So that all leads up to say, if, you know, trees add so much value to our neighborhood, not just environmentally, but, you know, for us humans, every neighborhood should have them, right? Next slide. That is actually not the case. So this is some data from treeequityscore.org, showing that communities with a large percent of people in poverty typically have less tree canopy than those with less percent of people in poverty, and communities of color are showing way less tree canopy than primarily white neighborhoods. Next slide. So this is actually from a New York Times study, an article they did that shows the tree canopy difference between 38,000 and 150,000 median income. So it's pretty glaring right there. There's just, you know, not funding going into things like tree canopy, and these neighborhoods have been left out of this programming historically. Next slide. And so that lack of tree canopy is having an effect on our communities. And so I actually pulled up right here the census block that we are in, and this is the health index score. So this is on a scale of 1 to 100. The closer to 1 you are, the better. And right here where we're sitting, we're at 68. So that means there are very high rates of asthma, heart disease, climate-related illness here in the Hilltop community. And just for example, right, you know, a couple miles down the road there in German Village, the health index is 14, and they have a lot more trees there. Next slide. And so a fact is that Columbus has the fastest growing urban heat island in the country. So it's getting hotter faster here in our downtown pockets than it is anywhere else. And we actually did a study on this last summer, the city of Columbus. So that's a map. Volunteers actually tracked the temperature, and they found that it can be 14 degrees hotter the same time of day in 2 different communities, just because of things like the tree canopy. Next slide.
What is it, urban heat? What was the word, the term you used, urban heat?
Urban heat island, yeah. So it's like, a lot of times it's like a downtown pocket because things like asphalt reflect heat a lot. So it'll be hotter there than like if you drive 10 minutes down the road in a park. And so our downtown heat island here is actually the fastest growing one in the country, which is why the NOAA did that study in Columbus. And so just to put that in perspective, on a day when, you know, it's about 75 here in the Hilltop, it would feel almost 82. So it doesn't seem like a big deal, but you know, it's 95 degrees out today. Every temperature above that matters, especially when things like utility costs are rising, and especially people without AC then get into climate-related illness and death. And keep in mind that humidity affects our body's ability to cool down, and is very, very humid here. So it's not like, you know, there's a lot of narrative about a couple degrees, you know, it's kind of nice to be a little warmer here, but we're going to get into places where people are unable to cool down and will end up in the hospital. Next slide. And so I have this is fine meme here, because that's kind of probably what you feel like me telling you all this, but it matters because the number of days over 90 is going to triple by mid-century, and I feel like we got a little taste of that this summer. And heat waves are already the leading cause of weather-related death in the US, so it's just going to pick up from here. And we're going to have more power outages, which we are already having here in Columbus. And our air conditioners are only meant to cool about 20 degrees. So you think if we start getting up into the 95, 100, you're not going to be able to cool your home down. It's going to be extremely expensive. And, you know, you're going to have to start finding other ways to cool your house, like shading with a tree or something like that to kind of mitigate in the meantime. Next slide. And so I won't walk you through all of this, but just kind of to show you how heat can kill. It's not just, you know, a couple degrees warmer. This is leading to organ failure, heart attack, and kidney failure, especially when there are people walking to work and in communities where we don't have personal vehicles. It is really important to have our walking ways shaded, and be a more walkable community. So, just keep an eye out on really, really hot days like this. You don't want to, overexert yourself and these things to happen to you. Next slide. And so this is where I'm gonna leave you. So all this to say that most US heat deaths have been concentrated in poor, minority, and marginalized communities. And these are also the communities that have the least amount of trees, the lowest tree canopy. And we think that is an injustice. So we are trying to get as many free trees out to the community as we can. And like I said, we have a tree nursery right here in the Hilltop. Our giveaway is October 7th. It's the very first one. If you would like a tree, you can go to our website, greenseabus.org, and there's a button right on the homepage. You can sign up. They're all native. They're in 3-gallon pots. You can carry them yourself home. We've had people take them on bikes home. So we will load you up. And then we also have a Southside and a Linden giveaway happening if you're out of town, or someone in those communities. And if you have a open tree lawn in front of your house between the sidewalk and the road, you can request a street tree from the city. At that phone number, you can go to 311, the website, and they'll add you to the list. And on the very last slide here, I just have my contact information and a QR code to our website if you want to learn more. But please reach out if you know someone looking to get involved with tree planting, or someone interested in getting some trees for a project. These trees are for you, so please come take them. So thank you for having me. I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can email me later. Yeah. Go ahead.
There we go. So what kind of trees are you giving away? I
Yeah.
know, so I grew up on North Ogden, and back in the day, we used to have tons of maple trees that lined our street, and now a good chunk of them are gone. So are they all ornamental trees that you're giving away, or are they the big tall, the ones that eventually grow?
They're the big ones. So we have 6 native varieties. Well, the large ones are tulip poplar, red oak, hackberry, river birch, and then the medium is red maple. And there's one more large one that is escaping me, but it is on the website. Sycamore. Yeah, thank you. Wow. We did the homework. Yeah, so all large, and then the red maples are medium. Our theory is we want to get as many large canopy shade trees out there as we can. And then we're gonna, once we have planted every spot possible, we'll start doing some small trees. But these are all large canopy, great for wildlife and climate mitigation. Yeah.
Well, so with them being such large trees, are you guys giving out any literature with the trees to help people plant them when it comes to placing them in their front yards, including gas lines, water lines, things like that, and the appropriate steps to take? So, because it would suck for somebody to plant a tree and then in 5 years it tears up their pipes, right?
Right, yeah, we're very concerned about people responsibly planting these trees, because we don't want to mess up anyone's foundation. That is not, these trees are supposed to help you. So every tree has a little QR code on it that goes to our website. It has a short little 2-minute video of okay, I'm in my yard ready to plant this tree. What do I do? It's look up, you need to call oops, these things, and then it shows you how to plant the tree. And then we link some longer resources if you're interested, but we try to at least give you all right, I am in my yard with my shovel. What am I doing right now?
Okay.
And then, we can always answer any ongoing care questions or things like that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we have a large senior citizen population, and senior citizens want to plant some trees in their yard. Is there any direct help, personal help, as opposed to a QR code, going online, reading? Is there anything that you guys are providing to assist seniors?
Yeah, well, we have had some groups come and pick up they'll pick up 20 trees or something, and then they'll have a volunteer event to plant the trees for them. Or, if they're coming to pick up the trees themselves, we're happy to give them a paper kind of manual. We used to do that, but we kind of noticed people just kind of throw them in the passenger seat and they're on their way and they're paper. So we're we want to use as few as possible when we're giving away trees, but we do have some paper manuals, and I'm always, I could give my phone number out to anyone who comes to pick up a tree and.
So I'm looking for someone to actually help plant the
To
tree
plant
in
the
their
tree.
yard.
Yeah, I think if there was enough interest, we
Okay.
could get a volunteer event together. I think it's hard if it's, 1 yard. I mean, I'm happy to go out and plant 1 yard, but we can't.
Well, I'm not talking about one
We have
yard,
3,000
so
trees, so.
I'm thinking of all the seniors on my street,
Yeah.
right, that may want trees.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking about that, so that's
No,
what I
I
was
think
asking.
we'd be happy to help we have a lot of volunteers who, can't take a tree themselves because they live in an apartment or they're renters and they want to get involved otherwise. So I think we, could be a fun event to get a group together and just kind of plant everyone's trees down the street and, kind of make like a block party out of it or something like that. And that's something we help people organize, their own events.
I was trying to get it there.
You wanted to,
Good job, that's right, I go till I get a yes, sounds good, I'll be giving you a call.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think I'm still stuck on that. Planting trees reduces climate by 30%. How is that? Is that other than gentrification? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out like, how does that happen?
Yeah, I would strongly recommend that if you're interested in it, you look it up because there are much smarter people than myself studying it. But I think it a lot comes back to like people wanting to take care of their community and there being something about kind of the thing with litter cleanups is if we clean up a place, we hope that it'll be a lot harder for someone to throw litter on the ground because it looks really nice and you can tell someone just worked really hard on it. Whereas if it's just totally littered already, it's, it's one more piece. So I think one part is that trees, make a community look beautiful and people are proud to live there and kind of want to watch after it. And, maybe some of it is that science of the chemicals in our brain and, what nature does for our mental health that calm people down. But that's one that, is hard for us to get on board with too. So we just had to go and read the articles and kind of break it down that way. But
Yeah, do you have the resource?
yeah, I'd be happy to send you some articles. I can send them out to you after the meeting.
That would be good, and
Yeah.
I have another question, I see you got the mic, but I got one more question. You get one like this, I kept interrupting. And so you talked about the trees between the sidewalk and the street, if you have grass there, that you guys provide, or you said that the city does.
The city,
do that.
yeah.
They do, they come around and plant, without asking to, but anyway, so, with that, do you work with the city in the care of those trees at all?
So that's city property, so they won't, they're only allowed to plant on those. We do a lot of advocacy with the city
Okay.
to plant trees, where there aren't those, but, there are a lot of things in motion regarding like a community forester type thing or someone to kind of get a volunteer program started. And there's a lot of funding coming out very soon from the federal government. So that might be something that comes from the city, but yeah, I think they just need some more people to be out there taking care of their trees, but yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Schleifer.
We'll take a question from Andrew and then probably have to wrap it up.
I would just enter a question about how it prevents crime. There's actually a whole field called it's crime prevention through environmental design. So it creates a psychological effect. It's a thing. I'm almost positive that's exactly what that study is.
So Shelley, you have like a one-page flyer that I think you send electronically. Want to make sure we put that on our Facebook page as a QR code and just a one-page description. If we can do that, that'd be great.
And I have some other little flyers right on the green front of this page under like resources, if you wanted to post any to, your personal pages or, there's a Hilltop specific one, you wanted to share those out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I'm so glad you could be here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Are there any, there we go, squelching the questions, but maybe it's a burning question for Shelley before we get her off the mic. Anybody out there?
I know, Victoria, if I could follow up your question, the city does have an arborist,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
So those are the folks that maintain kind of the side streets. Our neighborhood was just, we had the ash trees a couple years ago, and that emerald ash borer came in and just destroyed every tree in the neighborhood. And, it took a little bit of time and city figuring out what they're gonna replace them with. Because obviously before we actually built the place before, or Magnus Street. And that was like a 3-year process. By the time they put in, took them out, figured out what we're gonna put in, and they put in, I think, celebration maples. As the replacement, and, you know, in a couple of weeks, they're just gonna be bright orange and yellow and red. I mean, it's really neat.
Yeah. No, I'm aware of that. So my question, well, we're limited on time, so I won't, we can chat afterwards, that's.
Great, thank you. So on to the report of officers are on the agenda. So I do have a couple of things, as chair of this commission, couple of things I realized, I don't think we've renewed our PO box. Typically, the post office calls us or calls, I've personally been to the post office and said, you know, would you contact me when it's time to renew the post office box? I went there the other day with the key and it wouldn't unlock, so I haven't been able to get there during regular business hours. They might have, so I can't put on the agenda all the time that we have a PO box, so we either have to make a decision to continue to spend money to do that. We get very little mail there now, since a lot of the zoning applications come electronically and most correspondence with the city comes. And then all the banking we do is all over online too. So at some point, we need to make a decision whether we're going to continue with the PO box. Yes.
Full BC contacted me maybe 2 weeks ago asking, hey, we're getting mail back from the PO box. Do you want me to send things to your personal address? So I just told her to change to my personal address.
Oh, you did?
So for zoning things, they're just gonna come to me.
I think for a year, I meant to look it up before the meeting. I think it's $140 maybe for a year for post office box, not 48, something like that. I'd have to look it up for sure, but we've not made the outlay. But you know, does OLBC also require that we have a commission mailing address? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, or from a zoning, I think that from a zoning perspective, you have to, but you can't force somebody to submit electronically. There has to be an option, so.
Right, this feels like a business item. It's not a kind of report, so I'm gonna have to push this to government legislation or something, you know, is that appropriate? I'm happy to go over there during the day, but we did not put the PO box in our budget for this year. It could fall under administrative expenses, but this is where I don't really know how this rolls, how this is supposed to rock and roll.
I didn't use my whole budget, so what if I don't just donate that 100? It already is in the treasury, but just donate it back.
Well, in part two, we don't have any money in our account right now. It hasn't been deposited, so that's the other issue. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll go by the post office during business hours, have a conversation with the gentleman over there, explain where we're at. Last time this happened, they held the key for us because they figured we would renew. I don't know if they've held that box or key for us. I can go over and check it out and give everybody a report.
Sure.
Okay. So I made this announcement about our funds. We get funds from the city, about $2,500 from May through April every year. And we finalized the paperwork it wasn't our fault. OLBC came and got final signatures a week and a half ago. So the deposit should be there, but for the treasurer's report, I'm going to report at the end of August, August 31st, 2023, we had $275 in funds available. That's the amount of money that we're supposed to keep in the bank. And then I expect that we'll be getting a deposit here shortly. There's a couple of other things I wanted to talk about really quickly. If anybody has any information, this was previous to my involvement with the commission. Was there an effort by the city to put welcome to the Great Hilltop area signs, right? Like these little signs that some area commissions have. And I meant to snap some pictures and I didn't get a chance to, but if there's some information, I'm not going to be able to have a full conversation about it. I'd love to hear about it. If there's an opportunity for us to knock at some doors and say, are these signs available? Are they still funded? I would like to hear that if they're not. Number two, so I know you've got a couple of comments. I'll start with Rachel James.
I was just gonna say, I think Jeff Lee had worked on that. Like, we could email it to Brianna.
Yeah, Jeffrey Phillips, a former commissioner, like whatever happened with those signs, does anybody know what's going on with the signs? So. Do you have any, you're talking about the flagpole ones or like the permanent, like round?
Like how Franklin has like on the street lamps, the vertical ones on the street lamp.
Oh,
the street
yeah.
lamp ones, okay. Was it any other signage that you've seen in like Franklinton, when it comes to Franklinton, those have been paid for by a separate organization other than us or the city of Columbus, such as their business association group. But I do remember the flagpole signs we were talking about, and that was the Jeffrey. Because I think they were working together with Highland West, because you guys had some.
Yeah, many years ago, Highland West had signs, street bumper signs, we've been trying to get them up again. There's challenges with insurance and other stuff, it's a high cost, so to do, but I don't know if that is exactly the same. Must be.
There's some questions that have been coming up about, you know, when you come up West Broad Street and there's the welcome to the Hilltop USA sign and all of that, who manages that? These questions are starting to come up again.
I know who does that.
Don't have much. Need to shut up, good conversation, but I wonder if anybody has any data or information about what we're talking about.
To clarify, is this like the sign that says like so-and-so area commission welcomes you?
Yes,
The area?
I'm talking
I
about those.
reached out to Melissa about this before, and she said that those are funded through the area commission budget. And it is like a huge portion of the budget, and over $1,000.
So it's the budgets of any individual commission.
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
I can look for that and forward it to you.
Perfect. Thank you. I think the other things can wait till committee reports. I think they'll be covered nicely there anyway. So as Vice Chair, do you have any reports? No? Okay, I give our treasurer report, Secretary Joe.
I don't have any comments this time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we're moving into our committee, our committees and our reports from committees. So we're going to start with zoning. The chairperson is Rachel Winton. We have 4 applications to review tonight. Hearing forward. So a lot to do in the next hour, but we'll start with on the agenda. The first, well, I'll let Rachel kick it off. So kick it over to you, Rachel.
Okay, the first application that we have on the agenda is for 2240 Solent Avenue. I think the owners of the here, are you Mr. Okashich?
Yes. There's a microphone there. If you don't want to stand in there, just pull it on. You may pass it on. Yeah, for sure.
I think that is just the updated site plan, right?
Yes.
Which Mr. Vogel had sent, and I forwarded it to everyone around 6:15.
Okay, so electronically, he's got 4 copies if anybody can see.
Yeah, I didn't send it by email to everyone, but I think it just shows the street tree. It has the street tree that we had. But I'll just give an introduction to your application. If we go from there. So during our zoning committee meeting, we considered this application, and the agent or the owner was there, and I presented on behalf. They are requesting variances for existing conditions, and this is at the end.
Yes.
The variances are essentially to leave the dumpster where it is on the side of the building. Ordinarily, you know, the dumpsters are required to be behind the building, but this is an existing condition. City said, you know, you have violations here, you need variances for them. So it is screened, as you can see. The other variances are to allow parking between the building and Clarendon Avenue, so that's the close side here. And also to allow maneuvering in that space. So technically that's set back from the road, but as it exists, there's parking and maneuvering there, so they're asking for that to be continue to be allowed. And I think the only other variance is to waive screening behind the building. And that's an alley back there, right?
Yes.
So there's an alley and then there's houses back there, obviously. Ordinarily you would have to have screening there, but you know, it's the building and there's really just a little strip of area. So they're asking for variance to not put in screening. So if you want to take it from there, just as far as the vote, we voted for commissioners, yes, and 0 no's at the zoning committee.
That's years, I'm back on, I'm the first owner, I'm the third owner, still like folks, they're here, on some of this.
All that close, please.
Excited that, and they asked for friends, and, right now, like what you see, there's nowhere to put it, just on the side of the building. And it's been there for years.
At the committee meeting, we had asked that they put in a street tree. There's really a very narrow area there where a tree could be put in, but they did add that to the site plan. And then I also had asked if you could find out if you're allowed to paint those bollards that look like cigarettes.
It's what?
Yeah, the two that are right there.
I think the city banned somebody's banned it, that's not me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if you have like the authority to paint them if you want to?
I heard it's a lot if you might not be.
Or you just paint them yellow like right
I
now?
think yellow like the one in front of the store spot. That's I'm being.
So those were the only two, requests or suggestions that we had in committee. Do any commissioners have questions or comments?
Yes, Chairman, thank you, and thank you for being here. What is the detail of the parking again that would be on the Clarendon side? How many spaces, how are they gonna face?
So it's as it is right now, and I think it's on the site plan, there's 2 spots basically behind the dumpster. And so between the alley and the dumpster, there's 2 spots, so for people to be able to park there and then maneuver in that space.
When your dumpster is being picked up, where and how does that truck maneuver?
Usually, you see that spot is over there, in front of the dumpster, they go on the side.
The swings open,
Yeah.
side
They
facing.
just open it and close, that's all.
Okay.
So they open right here.
Yeah, you get plenty space between the dumpster and that,
Any other questions? No. Any questions from community members? Comment? Do you have anything on Facebook? So with that, I will do for approval, you variances.
Second.
And Mr. Arthur, you take a roll.
Sure. Okay, Commissioner Wayne?
Yeah.
And then I'm just gonna go, rep leadership, Chair Finn
Yes.
and Vice Chair Beachfront.
Yes.
And then I'm just gonna go over, Commissioner Kepler,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Commissioner Bruno,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner, Warren.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Franker, and, Commissioner White,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes.
Thank you much.
I think the city will be in contact to tell you when the BPA meeting will be. Yes, thank you. Okay, and the next application on the agenda is 363 Columbia Avenue. I think I heard that from Ms. Medina. Is Anna Medina here? Okay, great. Can you come up? And we did hear this request at a committee. The request is also for an existing condition. This is at her private residence, 363 Columbia Avenue. And we voted 4 yes, 0 no. Mr. Dallas did ask that the applicant bring a letter from the neighbor next door just to confirm that it's okay with them, that her fence and the setback, be granted variances. So the requests are to reduce the side yard setback from 3 feet to 0 feet, and to increase the fence height at the rear from 6 feet to 8 feet. This is, as it stands now, you know, she installed a fence and I think a deck in the back, sorry. Yeah. And so not realizing that, she needed variances, to have this work done, and it would like a variance from the bylaw. But you can add anything to that that you.
Hold the microphone up. Hold the microphone up so we can hear you. And just, is there anything else you want to tell us?
No. I'm sorry, I'm just very scared.
I think at the committee meeting, you said that there was some reason that you wanted the fence to be higher, like you had an issue with someone in the alley or.
Yes, the reason why I put the fence, there's not a lot of drug activity behind my house in the alley. There's a lot of prostitutes, and a lot of drug activity. They were jumping that fence and getting inside my property. One day my daughter was playing in the backyard and there was a guy there. So she went inside running crying because there was a guy there. So I told my husband that I wanted to build a fence so nobody can jump inside. I didn't know that there was a limit for 6 feet, but I've seen them jumping 6 feet fences. So I told my husband I want a high fence that is harder for them to jump. I don't want them to be able to get to my property. So that's why we built the fence 8 feet and not 6. But I didn't really know that there was a limit. Because in my country, there's no limit. You do whatever you want with your property without having to ask.
Yeah. So I think when we looked at the neighboring properties as well, there's a few other, maybe even the majority of the houses on that street who have higher fences in the back as well. So this isn't the only one that exceeds 6 feet. Just wanted to point that out. But do any commissioners have any questions or comments?
So we're just saying, she just want to bring that closer to the road, right? And taller.
She has made it taller. So I think this is an older photo.
2019 is the earliest, or the most recent.
So this is what it used to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the chain link is 4, the wood fence by the garage is 6. So 8 feet would be as tall as,
Closer to that.
so the garage, like gutters, is what she's trying to say is like, that's the height that she's put in to deter people from jumping her fence.
Yeah.
And then I believe the shed or the deck is along the property line to the right. Is that correct? Is the,
Yeah.
because she has a driveway on this side, and then the deck and the shed, I think, have been pushed closer to the right, and that's where we're gonna do the 0 setback.
And then, Mr. Nellis, did you look at that letter?
Yeah, just so everybody knows, the letter is from George Clark from 363 Columbian Avenue. It makes mention of other neighbors having higher fences as well, and saying he is absolutely fine with it. So thank you for providing it. I also will mention that I swung by because we're looking at redoing our back fence as well. I got a lot of really good ideas from you.
Any other questions or comments?
At this point, you haven't gone 8 feet around the entire backyard. Right, so that, you haven't.
It only goes in the back and then to the side. Because that one was already done.
The 6 foot one is good.
Yeah, so just if you hadn't seen or been able to drive by or seen the original application.
And then like the deck and the shed, it's behind the garage. But what happened was that I did it close to the fence, that I didn't know it needed 3 inches apart from the fence. So that's why I'm asking for the variance.
Any community questions? Okay. Given that, I will move for approval of the requested 2 variances. And Mr. Yeah.
Go ahead. And Jerry, yes, please. Mr. Reach, right?
Yes.
Right down the, yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
and Levi?
Yeah.
And Bruno?
Yes.
What? Yeah. Right,
Yes.
yes. You think you have that?
Yes.
Wait, yes. And I'm also a yes. Thank you for coming today and for looking on the project.
Thank you. We will submit the approval to the city and I'm be in contact.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next application that we have on the agenda is 4577 Parkway Drive. Owner is Brian Hartman. Mr. Hartman here?
No.
No, I shouldn't. Okay. We'll probably reschedule that one for October. The next application is 948 Whitethorn Avenue, and Stephanie Reisler. Stephanie here. Don't see her either. So I think we maybe zoning applications this evening. There was one other one that I think initially put on the agenda, but also will be heard in October, which is 2281 Sullivan Avenue. That's BZA 23-067. That's for the Sunoco. Trying to remember what the cross street is of Sunoco, but it's obviously 2281 Sullivan Avenue. No, it's not Central.
South Island. Yeah, so South Island.
It might be. That's around there. Anyway, they're doing a lot of construction right now, and I'm not sure exactly what all they're doing, but some of the variances are for, to not move the dumpster behind, the building and such, and, we had some objections to that, but that could be a more of a contentious one. Just as far as the upcoming zoning issues, for the next zoning committee meeting, which will be September 19th, at 6 p.m. here in the library. We will be hearing BZA 23-098. That's for 845 North Wilson Road. That's the American Bus Terminal. Their request is for a special permit to allow the port building to be located on the property. That's the current building that they have for housing the bathrooms. The application is on our Facebook page if you want to review it. I think I put it in the event for the zoning committee meeting. There's a link there, but even if you just can't find it, just reach out to us. We will also be hearing CD 23-014, which is 2532 West Broad Street. They are requesting a variance to convert that building from offices to 3 dwelling units. So that's a C4 zoning, generally commercial, but they want to have 3 great apartments there. So they do the parking variances, and also the use variance.
What was the West Broad address again?
2532. And then we most likely will also hear CD 23-090, which is 880 Clarendon. They are requesting to convert an existing garage to a second dwelling unit. So basically to have 2 dwelling units on 1 residential lot, and some reductions in side yards, and so on. So those will be heard, again, September 19th, here in the library, 6 p.m.
Thank you. Okay, on to our Community Relations Committee, the co-chairpersons, Kayla Davis and Josh Maddox. Did you have a report this evening?
We did not meet previously, the previous month, whatever that one was, August. But we do have a meeting on the 26th at 6:30 at the Design Refinery. It's 11 North Westmore. Yes. Exactly. We had a table at an event and went well. Lisa Boggs event to the South Central Hilltop National Day Out. We had a tent there and we were able to talk with some folks and spread the word and get a few more folks on the email list. So that was good.
Good. Yeah, I saw that increase in numbers. It was great.
Good times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, thank you for your report. Government and legislation, our chairperson, Leah Bredna.
Yes, we did not meet in August. We will, however, be meeting immediately following the Community Relations Committee on September the 26th, 7 p.m. at the Design Refinery. We will be finalizing details for our 2023 area commission election, which is set to take place on October the 7th, it's the first Saturday of October from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. There are 3 locations. Here at the library, at the Hilltop YMCA and at Ridge Road Baptist Church. We have 7 candidates running for 4 seats. They are as follows. We've had a few here tonight. If you're still here, stand up and wave. Nick Bates, Jason Cornell, Jenny Kepler, Ricky Kitchen in the back, Coach Keith Neal, Terry Roof, and Dean Smith. So we do have a contested election this year, which I'm very excited about. Please do mark your calendars for October the 7th to come out and vote. Anyone who's over the age of 18 and resides within the greater Hilltop boundaries is eligible to vote. You don't have to be registered. This is not an official ballot or anything like that. Details are on Facebook. Please do help us spread the word. We want to make sure the turnout is high, and that everyone's getting a say on who sits on this body. Like I said, we'll be finalizing details for those elections, including volunteers and materials at the September 26th meeting. So if you're running and you'd like to come if you're volunteering, please do consider coming out to that meeting. And then just to reiterate, our candidate forum with legal and voters will be October the 10th at 6:30 p.m. here at the library. More details to come.
Any questions for Government and Legislation Committee?
Question?
I didn't get the time.
But we'll be meeting at 7 p.m. immediately following the Community Relations Committee. That'll be at 6:30. Yes.
Thank you. So on to our Human Services and Education Committee, Joe Ardro is our chairperson. Trevor reports.
Thank you very much. Check. 1, 2. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. We did meet on August 16th. Just a public service announcement. We've been fielding some questions about refuse, obviously, is a major issue. And so we've had a good discussion about some strategy and some things to work about, work related to that moving forward for the rest of the year and into next year. But something that's we're hearing a lot more about, and people were talking to us directly at the South Central event a few weeks ago, is there's an uptick in rats. If anyone here has experienced that, if you don't want to raise your hand, fine, but is anybody here seeing that? Because I fielded multiple comments from people about rats in their neighborhood. But mice too. I mean, mice can be an issue, but particularly rats. Okay. So, and we know that other parts of the city have experienced it. Just a very quick public service for anyone here or listening. The city has a rat control program. They have a new Columbus DocGov. So the new Columbus DocGov, and it's a pretty long URL. I searched Columbus, Ohio 311 rat program. I was able to find the website. They can get you live traps, et cetera, and help to mitigate the problem. So if you or a neighbor experiencing that, we don't want diseases to proliferate or them to get into your home or into your trash with messes. So that's the extent of my comments now. Want to make sure to let people know
that this does exist.
this isn't a question so much, but we had a little rat outbreak in Westgate. I think it was a couple summers ago. A big part of it was people had bird feeders on their property. Rats absolutely will come to your property and your neighbor's property if you've got bird feeders with, overflowing with bird seed, and those squirrels are squirrely and they will absolutely spray those seeds everywhere. So the first thing that the city will do when they come out to your property is to look around for bird feeders. So just so you know.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, September 23rd, here in the library at 6 p.m.
Thank you for your report. Our liquor permit review committee, our chairperson, Andrew Stryker, do you have a report?
Just that we'll be having a meeting on the 19th following the zoning committee meeting, and I'll save the rest for unfinished business.
Perfect. Any questions? Okay. On to our planning and economic development committee, our co-chairs, Simon Dallas and Victoria Klein.
Yes, so we met this past month to talk about some land bank applications we have. I believe Homes on Health is here to talk to us about 120 North Eureka.
Hello. Nice. I try to, you guys may have seen. Okay. I'm not a senior director of Homes on the Hill. I brought Dan, who's here with me tonight, and who's my assistant director. And he runs the housing counseling program. And I thought that would be important because a lot of what housing counseling does is help people purchase homes. And he'll be a large part of this project trying to find qualified homeowner for us. Of course, they also do a lot of activity with eviction prevention, mortgage foreclosure prevention as well. So he can answer questions related to that. What we're proposing here is no new house for homeownership at 120 North Eureka. This property is currently owned by the land bank. And we want to build a two-story house that we think is in keeping with the tradition of the hilltop. As I once knew it when I first came up here, started to work here about 30 years ago. And when I would make a presentation to the area commission, they would almost always ask for two-story house with a basement and an attached garage. And I think that's in keeping with the neighborhood. So that's basically what we're proposing. I would stand up here and say this is going to be easy to do because it won't be. We have to have some special funding to make this happen. The basic objective of much of our homeownership program is to target to people who are 80% and below median income. And if you look at the lower right-hand corner of the flyer test, you will see what that equates to. So for example, a household of four, that's roughly $80,000 a year. Now what that means is a household who comes to buy a house from us will have to make that much or less and we qualify them. We, however, do not do the mortgage loan. People have to get loans, they have to qualify. And that's where our special program comes in place. We estimate this house sold probably at grades for somewhere around 275 based upon other things we've seen in the market that are comparable to it. And if you look at our detail, we think a qualified buyer is probably gonna have a mortgage somewhere, maybe 200,000. So what the difference is the second mortgage, that if we find a qualified buyer can be placed on the property, this mortgage is forgivable if the individual maintains it as an owner occupant for the period of time, or they can sell a house if they want to. They just have to sell it to another income qualified household. I don't want to get too much more detail in this, but this is quite an undertaking. For the city to approve financing for this, we have to have a qualified buyer. So what I talked to the committee about, and what I talked to you about, is if we want to promote home ownership here, we need to bring people in who are going to be able to afford to buy what we want to produce. Now, the options are smaller square footage homes with not nearly these amenities. So our request is to approve our purchase of this property from the land bank, so we can make an effort to try to make the project work. Good question.
I mean, I just want to raise a concern, I guess, of the loan. So the pre-qualified loan would have to be 175,000 to 200,000. That somebody would need to be pre-qualified to purchase the home.
Yeah.
I mean, as we all know, most of the Greater Hilltop rents. So I'm just trying to, I guess I am just worried that people aren't gonna be able to get pre-approved for that necessarily.
Well, that's why, let me, as my housing counselor person, who works with people every day to answer that question.
I think we share the same concern of you. You know, to find a household.
Sorry,
I think they only work one at a time.
Oh.
So to find a household that could afford this, they're probably going to. They're probably gonna need to have a larger family size and a lot, you know, not student loan debt and not a car payment perhaps. So it's finding a needle in a haystack to find someone who could qualify for that. Now it is, as the flyer says, it's tax evaded. We have access to some special financing through some lenders that might have no PMI, for example, or other interest rate buy downs that we might be able to pair the buyer with. So with the combination of those things, we're hoping that we can find someone and like you said, make it, you know, make what they're paying in rent, you know, close to it. But like Steve said, the city requires us to sell it to someone making below 80% of the area median income by their family size. To get the funding, the city is going to kind of tell us how much of that additional subsidy that people will get. So we're that's why we're estimating that we assume they would probably need to make between or to be qualified for a mortgage for 175 to 200. That's, you know, if we presented someone to the city and said, well, they're pre-approved for a mortgage for 169, would the city come in with that extra subsidy? We don't know. But it's possible, but again, it depends on the person's debt to income ratio and all the other things when there's a link at the low, to see what they would get qualified for.
Okay, thank you.
But we share your same concern that it just costs so much to build a house these days that it's impossible to get the number, even with all the subsidy we're requesting from the city, down to, you know, what. Basically, this house would be the most affordable for a new house in Franklin County, which is pretty shocking. But it's still, like you said, maybe out of reach for quite a few families that are renting in the whole time.
Now, is this gonna be a conventional loan as well, or?
It could be any type of financing, probably will.
Yeah, yeah.
What happens if you build it and then you can't find anyone for it?
Well, we're not gonna be able to build it until we have somebody in the contract. That's the way the financing works with the city.
Okay.
Okay, so if we won't build it and not have somebody in it. But it is possible, of course, that something could happen to the buyer in the time period where we're doing it. But then we just find the buyer. The hope is that the buyer will actually survive and be able to move in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the plans set for, depending on the buyer, could you guys, I guess, potentially eliminate the basement to like kind of help the buyer when it comes to like their debt income ratio?
We could do a lot of things to try to start cutting back if we wanted to. We could cut the basement out, but we're trying to do what I think people want, a fully loaded house. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
And if we find it's challenging to be able to do it, you know, you have an alternative. One is you can build some of those smaller houses and like, well, I don't want to get into too much detail, but kind of like GHAC put up, for example, it was about what, 1,100 square foot, two bath, 2 bedroom on a slab with a garage. Well, I mean, that's affordable, but I'm not quite sure that that's what the neighborhood wants, frankly. And I'm basing this on having continual conversations with folks about what they'd like to see happen. And that's what we're trying to do. Any question?
Well, I know you're not a banker, but so just, I would assume.
Well, it's pretty close to.
Pretty close to banker. So if it's tax abated and somebody qualifies for a loan, they're gonna have to, you know, given that value, that could be at current interest rates, maybe $1,500 a month. And then you'd have to add insurance and just trying to figure out like what a monthly payment would be, right?
Like $2,000.
Would you guys finish?
Yeah, but like I said, tax abated, no line, it still could be the lowest payment of any new build house of this size in Franklin County.
Sure.
Definitely less than if you're in one of the suburbs, paying the suburb taxes.
Right.
But yeah, it's gonna be stretching. I mean, we see people making below 80% AMI that are paying 1,500, 2,000 a month. Well over 31% of their income going to housing.
Sure.
We do have some lenders we work with that are a little bit more flexible on those things, but it's still gonna be a stretch. And, you know, maybe interest rates can come back down. In the meantime, we've been talking to lenders about, you know, long-term rate locks with a float down option. So if the rates did go down, the person could float their rate down. So it might be good to qualify someone at the current like 7%. And then if it comes down, it would be a better situation. There are some lenders here. If anyone knows anyone buying a home in the Hilltop, there's quite a few lenders with all sorts of special programs these days. But they have, you know, there's one lender that has $15,000 that they can use to buy down your interest rate and pay off your closing costs. You know, for different LMI census products, that's what they're doing. So if you have anyone looking to buy, just send them our way, we can hook you up with some of those options.
Typically, how much time passes before when you start a build and somebody moves in? And are they?
It takes 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And are they then paying twice or paying on their current rental or home and also a mortgage while the house? It doesn't sound so.
They don't pay until they close and move in. They won't pay up front. All we're looking for is somebody who's qualified for a mortgage, some sort of amount that the city will accept. And that's all we need to start the ball rolling. But until we get that, we won't do anything.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
How long is the tax abatement?
15 years. Right. Now, part of what we would hope this would do would be kind of an incentive for other folks. I mean, if it worked and it was popular, we'd like to build some more on some of those land bank projects. And eventually what you hope happens is that you raise the market to an extent that someday it's possible for people to actually build something somewhat comparable to this without having to put so much subsidy in. Now, you know, not to get into reads about real estate, but Columbus property values are increasing, pushing in place. I would think they're going to continue to increase. I think the most difficult thing that people face currently with these properties is increasing interest rates and what that means to people. Well, sometime perhaps interest rates might lower again. I mean, we've sold properties to 80% and below median income in the last 2 years that have been 220, 230, and 240. And people could qualify for these loans because the interest rates were low. Well, now that the interest rates are higher, their payments are higher. But as Daniel said, the tax abatement is a real saving. And there are programs out there that people have to assist folks to have more affordable mortgages. And we hope to be able to start doing some activity in the Hilltop using all these resources. Other questions?
Are there any community questions? I will also mention, we, at the Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting, we voted 5-0 unanimously to support this. Part of the reason for this is as it is a bank property, Homes on the Hill is a trusted nonprofit organization. When we are selling and recommending the sale of land bank property, we think that it's going to be very important that we're intentional about who we are providing that land to, especially as the city is pushing for a very aggressive strategy towards building new homes quickly across the city. This project is being marketed as at 175. I believe you said that is nearly $100,000 less than almost every other property that we've seen proposed in front of us at market rate. Additionally, as Steve said, Homes on the Hill guarantees that the buyer is going to be at 80% AMI or below. So we are guaranteeing that this house is going to be affordable and will continue to stay affordable. I think these are two very important aspects, and I would move to recommend this project.
Second.
I heard. There we go. Okay, here we go. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We're right around the table again, Catherine.
Yes.
Davis.
No.
Levi.
Yes.
Wenning.
I mean, yeah.
Bruno.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And I'm gonna vote yes. So that is, I'm gonna say 14-13-1. Additionally, we heard an application for 168 Whitethorn Avenue from S&J Property Developers. This was a for-profit property. We have not taken a vote on this application to the land bank. We're in communication with the land bank about this property. The general sense was that it was not going to be appropriate, or was not meeting our the envisioned hilltop plan, especially in the homes category where for so they may be coming to our next meeting at 5:30 p.m. here at the Hilltop Library on September 28th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Can I ask a question, Simon, if you mind? Yes. So you finished with your report? Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to ask if you had any update about what the committee's doing around trying to put together some efforts to help those going through real estate appraisals and what your potential taxes are gonna be.
Yeah, so we just got a list back from the county auditor, listing everybody who's owned their home for 20 years plus. That way we can specifically target people that are, have owned their houses for an extended period of time. And so we're gonna start doing some door knocking with multilingual informational packets. So we'll be posting those on our Facebook page. If anybody in the community would like to come, candidates in particular, it's a great opportunity to talk to folks. But we'll keep you posted. It'll probably be Saturday and Sundays in the end of September.
Simon, do you want to say what languages you're recruiting people?
Yeah, Spanish, and I believe they gave me Somali as well, and obviously English. We'll have all three of those printed.
What's the cutoff to submit a request? I think when I did it online, it was like end of September was the date.
Yeah, so the initial, to my understanding, the initial request is end of September. People will not actually be changing or requesting a meeting officially until next year in I think it's starting in February. This meeting is just to essentially meet with a coach at the auditor's office to best prepare.
Thank you for that additional or that question. Just real quickly, in a matter of time, the work the Planning and Economic Development Committee is doing around this, I think is really important. I think long-term homeowners, be able to get a list. The committee's been able to do that. They're being pressured by potentially an increase in taxes, and potentially people that live in the neighborhood, they're maybe unhappy with the upkeep of a property or the way it's physically looking, or whether or not maybe it's approaching a violation of code. These are all pressures on what I believe are people that need link to resources, need link to more information. What could we do here this last quarter of the year to be able to pull together as many resources as possible and be able to share those? I'm not going to say much more beyond that at this point. The committee is doing a lot of work. They have a full agenda every month. I really think that there's an opportunity for us to think outside of our commission, to be able to pull different groups of people in the greater Hilltop together to be able to talk about solutions to help homeowners be able to stay in their homes. So you'll be hearing more about that as we move on. That's okay. Perfect. All right. Any other questions for our Planning and Economic Development Committee? Now we're going to move on to public safety and our co-chairs, Hannah and Malik.
So public safety, we had our break in August, and we will be meeting on the 28th at 6:30 right here at the Hilltop Library.
Perfect. Thank you. Recreation and Parks Committee or Chairperson James White.
We did meet in August. We met at Westmore. I just want to give a big shout out to everybody who meets there with their little leagues. I know it's a very busy park for that. I just want to say thank you. It was one of the cleanest parks that I've done this year, and we've been to 7. The average number of bags of trash that we normally pick up is around like 1.5. That one I had a half bag of trash. So again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who utilizes that park for keeping it so clean. We will be meeting this month in September. The date has been pushed back a whole entire week, just due to some scheduling conflicts and the fact that the schedule was made at the beginning of the year. So we'll be meeting on the 23rd. We are going to be doing 2 parks. So it's going to be Holton and Glenview Park. This is going to be our last in-person park audit meeting. On the following month, we will be meeting in person here at the library at 11 in October, and that meeting date is the 21st.
Thank you. Just a quick note, if we take August off next year, whoever the leadership is, I would propose that we not meet in committees in July. And then that gives you, and then we'll take the first full commission meeting at the beginning of August and then go to committee meetings. That would be something I would recommend, next year. Avery Townsend just really quickly did send me an email, tonight. She's our liaison with city council. At 5:03, she sent me this email just real quickly, that she wasn't able to attend. There was a hearing on the progress of Zone In, the city zoning code update on, 8/21, and the hearing can be found on YouTube and Facebook if you're interested in hearing more about that. There will be a council hearing on September 14th on the public tree code update as part of the urban forestry master plan. There's a public comment tool available until September 22nd, which can be found at a website here that I will try to get out and put paste on our, put on our media and socials. And then the first council session will be back will be September 11th. Those are Avery's updates. Yes, I will forward it to you, sir. So let's move on to unfinished business. Again, we didn't able to have a full conversation about this in July. So we're gonna flip it over to Andrew, our liquor permit review chair, to give us a briefing and then kind of talk about what it is we need to do to finalize this business.
Okay, I'm gonna move quickly in there a few minutes, but I'm gonna have Josh pull up our website really quickly. So this is now live on our website. It's a form. We put it down here under the liquor committee area here. So you can click liquor license committee form. You can fill out this form, or I might just rename it feedback form. Complaint. But you're able to go in here, go put in your email, your name, and your address, and then the location you're looking for. And then we are able to provide feedback to the city whenever we get a request with what area, which particular area we've had complaints about. Can you pull up our Facebook quickly? So on our Facebook, I did post this link is on our Facebook, and I also posted just while we were in here an example of what I might post. So I can go with the one before this, where I posted about the link. I posted about the link there. But then the most recent post that you're just looking at is what I might post if we get something from the city. So they sent me, that's exactly what they sent me, the text there on the bottom. So I just put a quick post saying, we're looking for feedback in this particular location. You can click the form below. So I'm not going to go over a lot of stuff I went over last meeting, and let's curious you can go back and look on our Facebook page when we talked about liquor licenses. But basically, what I would like to propose and have us vote on is that because we get requests from the city, like I just got this one from Zach a day or two ago, and I said I would talk about it in the meeting here. So when I get requests like this, I can post them online on Facebook. We get whatever other methods we think we should post it, whether it be email. And then once after a certain time, whatever that is, 4 or 5 days, I can provide the feedback that we got on our using this form. But again, just to reiterate from last time, it's a little bit difficult for us to provide any kind of feedback because we have to have time for our liquor committee to meet, whatever that next is, and then for our next committee meeting or our next general meeting. And so, by that time, we are now, a month too late to respond to that request. Right? Basically, what I'm asking for is that we vote, basically just a yes or no, if we're going to allow whoever the chair of the liquor committee is, which would be me at the moment, to respond to city requests for information using this form and whenever their deadline is. And we don't have to vote in full committee. Any questions?
Yeah, can we make sure that an email is sent out to our full list of people that are signed up? I think this is fantastic. And I think just to get full coverage, because this is really, really good, Andrew.
Absolutely. I'll get with Dan to set that up. So I can post it online on Facebook, and I'll send out an email to our general email list.
Thanks, Andrew. I am concerned that somebody might go to this form on Facebook, go to a form on Twitter or X, go to the one in their email, go to one that's sent to them directly and submit 4 times, whether it's for or against, but it could, stack the box in some way against somebody's position on it. So is there, I see email is required. That doesn't necessarily stop someone from making 4 email addresses and submitting 4 different times, but what checks do we have to make sure that there's not duplicative, whether again, someone's for or against?
That's an excellent question. I really hadn't considered that, I don't believe. I don't believe I've really thought of that. You can create 4, addresses for, or put in a random address and email, but again, I don't know what we could do.
Like if the Green Light Lounge is obviously they want their liquor license and they got 700 of their closest friends and clients and everyone to all spam this in a way. I mean, I guess it would be public input, but.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you'd have to have geolocation basically to say, I'm gonna geofence this area and I only care about comments from this area. I mean, you're 100% right. I do stuff like that all the time, but like, it just, hey, there's only so much
For the integrity of the data we have.
But again, the feedback I'm looking for here, and this is not, we were not approving or denying applications, so that's the rule of, it's a state license. The state approves and denies. What we're looking for on here is that for some reason we were to get 10 or 12 or 15, feedback saying that brothels being run upstairs of this business, or, something like that, then that gives the city, that gives them the ammunition to be able to challenge this liquor license, and they only have so many resources to challenge so many licenses. So it's not to say this is gonna be the end all be all, but it is gonna give them a frame of reference whenever they're asking for our feedback, because they do wanna know. I provided my own feedback regarding this particular location because it's less than 100 yards from my house. And I know there have been significant disturbances. So I provided him privately my feedback. And I'll go ahead and fill this form myself. But yeah, that is what we are looking to. Looks like I had a typo there. At the end of the last line there is like a 2, so they're looking to transfer, if they're trying to transfer this license from what it is above to what it is below, and it looks like I had a couple lines in there, but you can edit that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a good tool, like we're looking for tools, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
thank you.
And so, I think it's a good tool to get the information and be transparent to our residents. And so this is just one way. They can also email, they can do whatever. And if we see a large selection of comments, be it that you're calling it, complaints or feedback or whatever you're calling it, and they kind of look the same, we can kind of identify that it's about the same thing. We won't put in 10 of they're running a brothel at the top. You know what I mean? Like you would put whatever, so.
There's a meth lab in the basement, if we're not looking, it's not even necessarily, I'm sad to say, a positive feedback thing. It's more of we are seeking negative feedback, to see what issues there are that the city can also, there's also the possibility of 10 people are on here saying that the lot is overgrown. Am I going over on time? I'm over on time now. That the lot is overgrown, that the city can then address that, and if they're not going to challenge the permit, at least do like a good neighbor.
It's a tool. Yeah.
Do we have any other final questions? We are out of time.
Love this.
My only comment was really that, we're more looking for negative comments than positive comments, because we're just looking for the city to be able to challenge things that are problems. But
Correct.
I don't think, even if we got 100 positive comments, I don't think it would really make a difference. Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much for all your work on
Yeah,
this.
'cause
This is
they're
amazing.
concerned about police reports or 311s or just all the other information that comes in addition to this.
Selling to underage kids.
So, great work. I love that you would change the feedback form. I think that would be helpful. And then we need to vote on this tonight.
Yep.
Yes.
So can you?
Make a motion so that we will approve whoever the head of liquor permitting committee is to post this online and then provide whatever feedback the state of the.
Second.
And was this voice or roll call or?
Let's just do a voice vote real quick.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
It passes.
We heard everybody's voice. Yeah, so, okay. So actually, the final thing we have is just, I put back on here because it was an undone item from last time we met, was do we want to use program funds to hire a person to take meeting minutes? So
That last, very quick update on that is, it was referred to government and legislation. They did not meet last month and they also have the election coming up. So we're gonna give a little bit of time. I did send the, draft description and information that you reported. I thought that was actually, it was in my outbox and I actually just never hit send 8 weeks ago, so yes, but so we'll have more information towards the end of the year.
Great, it'll just stay as unfinished business then for the coming meeting. So, our next scheduled meeting is the first Tuesday in October, October 5th. It's on our slide. Sorry, it's October 3rd, Tuesday, 6:30 PM, right here at the library. So let me make sure that date works for everybody. Yes, that would be great. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.